welcome back to MMA News and More. For some reason, I can't seem to change the actual name of the channel right now. I'm not sure why that is. I'm digging into it, but I was able to change the logo. So we will update that as we go. The reason for that change is because originally what I was going to do is just kind of put some snippets up there for you guys, on a semi-daily basis. I don't have the time for that right now. Some of these YouTube channels, they got these gigantic teams of people. It's just me. It's just little old me with this little old setup here and one person doing everything. So that just wasn't in the cards. It's a shame because I felt like I was going to be able to bring a few things to the table here with that, but I just don't have that kind of time. So, yeah, last week I killed it. I freaking killed it. I missed one fight. So, all my picks but one. And I called the Dan Hooker thing, and it went exactly as I said it would go, to the T. I'm very good at picking fights, man. I told you guys, I have a bit of a track record on another channel over there. I'm not going to mention that channel because it has nothing to do with this channel. But I've just been very, very good at picking fights. And if I had a set of balls on me, I would bet more than $1 or $2 at a time. But I will say I won $15, so on $1 parlay bet. So, okay. Listen, we got to talk about Mike Perry here. And if you watched last week's episode, you will see that I made some comments about Mike Perry and my concern about Mike Perry. My concerns are still there, and they're still very valid. With that said, I do think I was a victim of what we were all a victim of, which was just being flat out duped by Mike Perry. And if you noticed the difference in his demeanor, and this is common with all fighters, right? The demeanor always changes after the fight. But this was a significant contrast from right before the fight to right after the fight. Enormous contrast. I don't think I've ever seen a contrast like that before. Does not sound like he's very serious about keeping LaTorre, his girlfriend, in his corner going forward. Is not what it sounds like. I do want to play a snippet for you, and it's going to be a very quick snippet. This is from the post-fight press conference, not the post-fight interview, but the post-fight press conference. It was 16 minutes and 8 seconds long. Mike Perry completely buried the lead until the 13:37 mark. He buried the lead on this whole thing, and nobody's talking about this. That's what I bring to the table. Okay? That's why you watch this channel. Right? I'm tooting my own horn here. All right, so let me just play this for you real quick, and let's take a listen to what Mike Perry says. And now, again, this is over 13 and a half minutes into this post-fight press conference.
Coming in with the last couple fights in here were losses. Was there any extra pressure to kind of come in here and perform a little bit, and get that win? And is that part of the reason why you wanted to just switch things up and do things your way?
6-6 in the UFC. I was like, if I'm gonna lose, it's gonna be my fault. I'm not gonna have any excuses. I'm not gonna be able to talk about anybody else but myself if I don't win tonight.
And there you have it. Ariel Helwani, Chael Sonnen, nobody's talking about this. And let me tell you something. Some people might be calling bullshit on that. I'm not. I told you last week, I know Mike Perry. I know him. There's something to be said about falling on the sword, going out on your own terms. And he epitomized that. And I've got nothing but mad respect for that. Mad respect for that. He did not want to provide anybody an excuse, or I'm sorry, provide himself with an excuse for anybody but himself. Hang on one second. I'm getting the next one ready here. But I want to continue talking about this. This is just going to be some highlights. So, but I wanted to point a few things out about Mr. Perry. But back to this other part here. Mike Perry did the right thing in hindsight. I'm not taking my words back what I said last week, which is I'm very concerned about Mike Perry and his future. Keep in mind, he fought Mickey Gall. And Mickey Gall looked horrible in that fight. He landed some nice strikes. He was pathetic on the ground. Once it hit the mat, Mike Perry, of all people. Listen, there are levels to UFC, to MMA, but especially in the UFC, there are levels to this stuff, man. How many times have we watched a fighter come up through the ranks and just buzzsaw through everybody until they start fighting the number 5, 6, 7 ranked fighters? It happens all the time, right? Mickey Gall is still very green. I think he's got 7 fights. He's still very, very green. And in his 7 fights, Mike Perry is by far the toughest one he's fought. He's got to go back to the drawing board. But again, I digress. The Mike Perry thing, going out on his own terms, I relate to that, man, so much. I don't want a handout from nobody. I don't want an excuse from myself. I don't want an excuse provided to me. If I lose a fight like to Mickey Gall, I got nobody to blame. And that is the approach he took. I mean, you got to respect that. However, we're going to watch some highlights here. And I got to tell you, I'm concerned for Mike Perry. And let's take a look at some of these. Let's just skip ahead here a little bit. All right, now I want you to pay close attention to his striking. Now, there's 2 things that are crucial when you're striking, and you rarely see it from an MMA fighter, okay? And one is you keep your elbows in. All right, you strike, you strike forward, okay? That's how you strike. That's boxing 101. The other thing is you swing with your hips. It helps you eliminate the motion in your arms, and it provides a lot more power. It's no different than throwing a fastball, or when you're at bat, and you're always taught from a young kid, swing with the hips, okay? Golf swings, swing. You're using your hips to swing through with power. Mike Perry's got that part down. He's using his hips very well. But let's see if we can. Now, I did not pre-mark these, but I want you to look at how amateurish his striking is. It's very, very rudimentary. See that was just terrible. Absolutely terrible striking. I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. Let's get deeper in here. Because I know later on I saw some real noticeable. There's another one. See how far out his elbows are? See that? It's just oh, right there. There you go. That's one of the perfect ones. Okay, let's slow this down here. Let's go to half speed on this. All right, watch this. You're not going to hurt anybody doing that. You are not going to hurt anybody doing striking like that. It's not going to happen. And he was fortunate to have fought Mickey Gall. Okay? Who's his next opponent? Right? I mean, I'm hearing people talking about Nate Diaz. Who else did I hear? I heard somebody else talking. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. I heard him talking about who was it? I think it was Chael. I forget who it was, but somebody threw out the name Mickey Gall, or I'm sorry, Nate Diaz. And can you imagine Mike Perry fighting Nate Diaz? Nate Diaz is a notorious, probably the slowest starter in the UFC. But Nate, I'm telling you right now, Mike Perry cannot get out of the first round with Nate Diaz. There's just no way. Nate Diaz is one of the best strikers in the UFC. And I know there's going to be pushback on that, but this guy trains with Andre Ward. You look at his technique. He doesn't throw heavy, but he throws volume. And that's what boxing is. Okay? Especially at in their weight class. You start getting into light heavyweight and heavyweight, obviously power is a much more utilized attribute. But in their weight class, 155, 170, I guess it would have to happen for Perry. And we'll talk about the weight division thing. But he's so amateurish. Nate would pick him apart. Nick would destroy Mike Perry. Not seeing it, man. I am not seeing Mike Perry get beyond anybody. So the point being is that he did make the comment to John Anik in the post-fight interview that he wanted to move up to 185. He also did say that he's planning on moving to South Florida, which is where I am, and he wants to move to 185. He wants to find some new training partners. He wants to train with Yoel, which I get that. If Yoel had a gas tank, he'd probably be the most dangerous man on the planet. But he doesn't, and Yoel knows he doesn't. That's why he fights the way he does. But it's all that muscle he's carrying. You just can't carry that kind of muscle and have a gas tank. The lactic acid, there's all kinds of reasons for that. Mike Perry wants to move to 185 to fight Darren Till because Darren Till has been trolling the hell out of Mike Perry. I don't know who's aware of this, but Darren Till created a website called MikePerryIsABum.com, and he's just been trolling the shit out of Mike Perry, and Mike Perry is all about street respect. That's his world. That's his psyche. right? And I just... Let me give you an example. Alexander Volkanovski. Watch the fight with him and Max Holloway. I believe there's a free one on Free Fight from the UFC on YouTube right now for that fight. And look at the size difference. Volkanovski was stout, right? Max Holloway is a lot taller. He barely beat Max Holloway. And Volkanovski's a stud. Okay? Can you imagine Volkanovski moving to 155? Can you imagine Chad Mendes moving to 155? It's not going to happen. Just too small. That's Mike Perry. He's stout. He's short and he's stout. He's short for welterweight. Come on, man. Never in a million years are you going to have any success when you're not having much success at welterweight. 185, those boys bang. And those are thunderous shots. And Mike Perry, you don't have that kind of power. And you sure as hell don't have that kind of technique. No way. Could you imagine Mike Perry fighting Izzy? I mean, it would be laughable. Could you imagine Mike Perry fighting anybody at 185? Darren Till. Fight Darren Till at 185. Come on, man. Anyway, enough on Mike Perry. But suffice it to say, that was yet another fight that I picked correctly. And this was another fight that I picked correctly. This is Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker. I'm just going to talk a little bit why this is running. But listen, this fight went exactly the way I thought it would. And my reasoning for that was because of, and by the way, we're showing you just highlights here. This isn't the full fight. But if I had to guess, this is probably from the second round. The second round was a banger, man. But the fight with Paul Felder, and oh my God, this whole Paul Felder, everybody loses to Paul Felder. It's not Paul Felder. Come on. Paul Felder is the most overrated fighter in the UFC, bar none. The most overrated fighter in the UFC. He's tough, and that's where it ends. He's got no attributes. Dan Hooker barely beat Paul Felder in his home country in a 5-round banger. Going into this fight, I just knew that Dustin Poirier, and I said this, Dustin Poirier is going to wear on him and wear on him. And by the 4th or 5th round, he's going to start taking it out, stretching out the contrast between him and Dan Hooker. And it's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. I watched this fight, and I was, that second round was incredible. It was a hell of a fight. Round of the year. I don't know what all this talk is about fight of the year. This isn't even close to fight of the year. And I think this is, what's the new buzzword everybody's using now? Recency bias. Recency bias. Everybody seems to be using that term now, but that's what this is. This fight wasn't that great. It was really good. It was fun to watch, but you want to compare this against the Weili Zhang and Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight, the Josh Emmett fight? No, this wasn't at that level. But with that said, it was a very fun fight to watch, very technical. And Dan Hooker, I gained a lot more respect for him. I did. But he's not, he's just not there yet. Another fight or two, I could very easily change my mind. But he's just not there yet. Now, what's next for Dustin Poirier? That's the $1 million question, right? Do you fight him? Do you have him fight Ferguson? Conor again? I mean, that fight wasn't even close. You know, Conor destroyed him, ran through him like a buzzsaw. I just don't know that. I just don't know that anybody's even interested in that fight, regardless of any of that stuff. So, anyway, the rest of the fights on the card, Mo Green won. Mo Green was the fight that it came down to for me to hit my $1 parlay. I did bet a $5 bet in a round robin, but I only won like $8, so I didn't lose any money at all. I didn't lose on any of my bets, so I bet 3 bets. So, like I said, one of these days I'll grow a pair of balls and maybe bet $50. No, I won't. I'm too conservative. Because I know as soon as I do that, that's the one that just goes south on me real quick. So we're not gonna have any picks this week, but July 11th, which happens to be the day before my birthday, by the way. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. It's July 11th, and it's on Fight Island, UFC 251. Oh, my God. The card. Let's post the card right here. What a card. I mean, are you kidding me right now? 3 belts, 1 pay-per-view. That is going to be something. And I'll be honest with you, I can't wait to do this, what we're doing here, next week for that, because I see some opportunities. So if you guys want to throw a couple bucks down, feel free to do so. Use my picks. I always recommend a round robin, though. Parlays are so tough, especially when you start getting to 3 and 4 fight parlays, or, you know, even a 5 fight parlay. I've seen people do it. So, but my brother-in-law, he's big into gambling, and he'll bet 5, sometimes 6 team parlays. He doesn't do MMA, but and I'm like, dude, you're never gonna win that. Yeah, but if I do. Anyway, I hope you guys like this. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. That reminds me, if you guys want to, I'm open to, doing some questions and things like that. We want to do that over here. I'm down with that. That'd be great. But yeah, leave some comments. Make sure you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. Trying to grow this channel. See what we can do with it. Have some fun with it. All right? Take care, guys. Peace.